Good morning, afternoon, evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming to you again for another edition of What's Going On allpointstv.com. And John has just given me the signal to start the program. We're starting a little bit late, but we are about in the same time frame. We'll be here for the next hour. Hope you're still around for that time. And we're looking forward to WFOV over there on University Drive to take their break as usual around the 26-minute mark, and they'll come back after their 4-minute break. I've been promising for the last 2 weeks that we were going to clear up some of the noises out there about the impeachment process, and I had a lot of objections on my Facebook site this past week. John, because one of the person got on my wall, and I really love I guess I'm a lot like Trump in the sense I like a good, back and forth. And I'll tell you something, I don't think anybody enjoys it more than Donald Trump. Donald Trump likes a good fight, and he does not avoid, one thing I like about him, he does not avoid a confrontation if he can run right into it. Have you noticed that, John?
Yeah, kind of what Dinesh D'Souza said when he was the editor of that paper, in a student paper in Dartmouth, University. They said people should be wary of taking these people on because basically it's like wrestling this people of this editorialship of this paper was like wrestling a pig. The pig, you're going to both get dirty, but the pig's going to like it. It's like that's what I think with Donald Trump. I mean, He enjoys getting down there. If it's mud that you're looking for and you're throwing it, Donald Trump is going to double up on it and throw it right back at you. And that's why he's going to be a transformational president before his 2 terms is over, because they can say what they want to. Donald Trump is not going to have any real big contest in November. This man is unbeatable by what they have on the other side. And they're now beginning to read the tea leaves because they recognize their only hope is that they can dirty this man up by the impeachment process, but he's not going for that either. In fact, the man is asking for the trial. Okay, so anyway, let me start. I want to make sure that I don't get carried away with other discussion points, and we don't reach the objective of talking about the information in Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6. As you know, we were saying last week, and for some weeks before that the impeachment process is in fact spelled out in Article 1. And I wish these scholars could understand what they're getting wrong here about the impeachment process, because they have it all wrong, and they cannot correct it until they understand some very basic tenets of the impeachment process. And this is why I was having a lot of persons on my Facebook wall last week that was jumping all over me, because one person, and I like his feedback. Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing the criticism. I like the criticism, because it makes me hone my skills a lot more and make me much more adept on my feet. But I don't think they're going to trip me up about anything on the Constitution, to be quite frank with you. And what I'm going to be doing, quite frankly, is tripping these scholars up because they don't have it. They think that they have it. And the latest one to be drawn out in that regard is Rudy Giuliani, the president's attorney, who was on Judge Janine's program this past Saturday, spouting all kinds of nonsense. This man, I don't want to say this on the air, so I won't use that. It won't be the FOOL word, but some of that stuff these people are saying. These people belong in an insane asylum. And I guess I'm calling names out. See, I'm not. They know I'm here. And I was telling this one guy on Facebook, because he was objecting. We went back and forth a while, and then he asked me, "Are you saying
that you're the only one in the country to understand the impeachment process? And I told him, yep. The only one. And the reason why that's true is because I know what the rest of them are saying, because they don't contradict each other. Every last one of them is a parrot. And that's what they learn. They learn the parrot. The Men in Black, the book put out by Mark Levine, The Men in Black, the subtitle of which is How the Supreme Court is Destroying America. And they are destroying America. They're not interpreting the Constitution. And if they are, how do you explain all these 5-4 verdicts based upon what the ideological dominance is on the court? We have a conservative majority. The rulings are in this vein, and when you have a liberal majority, then it's in another vein. But the Constitution is steady, and the wording there has not been altered unless you've amended it. And so it's not the Constitution that's being altered. They're altering it by the interpretation of it. And that's why that's why you don't hear me talking about what the Supreme Court said. I mean, I have to abide by it, because the state has the enforcement mechanisms to enforce the mandate, the edicts of the government. But the constitutional edicts are not always congruent with the edicts of the government, and sometimes the government is in fact in contradiction of the edicts of the Constitution. And that's what I was noticing. And I don't know how a person like Rudy Giuliani can defend anybody in the impeachment process, because first of all, what he was saying this past Saturday on Judge Jardin's program was so much nonsense. He didn't understand the process himself. First of all, the man was saying that in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5, it says that the House shall have the sole power, S-O-L-E, the sole power of impeachment. And then after having said that, this man, right after making that statement of fact in the Constitution, went behind that and said that the Trump administration should take the impeachment to the court and have the court to nullify it as unconstitutional. You know something, when you say stuff like that, you have to be a maniac. You can't be a man of the law, of the Constitution, and say things like that. You just quoted the Constitution saying that the House should have the sole power of impeachment. And then you're saying then, after having said it has the sole power of impeachment, now you're saying they can carry that sole power and place it in the court. And then the court can, in fact, render their verdict null and void, although they have the sole power stated to them in the Constitution. That doesn't even go together in the same sentence. At least they should have said it in the next paragraph, where people could not have caught him in the contradiction. But the man was saying it in the same sentence. And how dumb is that? What Giuliani is missing is what everybody else is missing. And so we were going back and forth, and I was saying that these scholars don't understand what they're reading in the document. It might sound like braggadociousness on my part, but that's not what this is. Is that I've listened to them and I am calling on what they're saying. And I'm not doing this behind closed doors. I don't have to, because I know what I'm talking about and they don't know what they're talking about. You know, there's a number you can you can call here. They're not gonna call it. I'm on Facebook. They're not gonna write anything either. I dare them to. You let Dershowitz say to me what he's saying on these TV programs, and Noah Thelman, and this other guy who I think this guy belongs in a psychiatric ward. I'm talking about Lawrence Tribe at Harvard University. This man is mentally ill. This man said, after knowing, I guess he does know, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5 says that the House shall have the sole power of impeachment. And I think that if he knows that, then he knows then it does not say anything in there about Nancy Pelosi having to deliver anything over to the Senate, because the Senate doesn't make the impeachment charge. The charge is made in the House. He knows that in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5. These people are sick. And just because you got a shirt and tie on does not mean you're mentally well. There are a lot of people wearing shirts and ties. In fact, that's what the hippies did. They recognized back in the 60s that they had holes in their jeans and smoking, pot. They were doing things opposite of the parents. The parents were beer gushlers. They didn't want to identify with that. Parents were wearing business suits. They wanted to identify themselves, the masses. Although they had wealth, they want to act like they were poor and identify with the masses. They were out there as hippies. And they found out that they were being dismissed. Nobody was listening to them, dressing like a bunch of bums. So what they finally understood, reading such people as Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky and other radical writers like that, they began to understand that the way you actually influence the institution is that you can't be on the outside throwing bricks at it. You have to go inside the institution, and that's what they did. They took off the jeans. They stopped smoking pot. I guess most of them did. They started going to the beer, centers and drinking the beer with everybody in their, profession, and then joined the staff of the university and took those universities over. And that's why you have these universities right now with these ignoramuses in it. And Lawrence Trabb is an ignoramus, and I'm calling his name out. And if Noah Feldman believes what he's talking about, he's an ignoramus. That's just the way it is. You can't tell me what's in this document and be telling me something that it says when it doesn't say that. There's nothing in here. I'll challenge, Lawrence Trabb. Lawrence Trabb said that the president has not been impeached until the Speaker of the House, as Nancy Pelosi, until the Speaker of the House is walked or carried or transmitted in some way, maybe through courier, the impeachment verdict over to the Senate, and there's Mitch McConnell, who is also an ignoramus. We have people, see, that's why I was writing about in my post. We have fools running this government. That's why the government is in so much trouble. We're electing fools to run this country. If they have a nice, if they get up there and have a nice way of talking and soothing you, stroking you with, we're going to give you this and we're going to give you that, we're going to expand government, we're going to spend more money, we're going to go into deficit spending, we're going to spend your children's money. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. Then people will vote for them regardless as to whether they're qualified to be in there or not. And we are electing these non-qualified misfits, most of them belong in an insane asylum, and we are electing them to run the country and then expect the country to come out well on the other end. The country's in trouble because of these people. Every problem that we're having right now can be traced back to these politicians. Every problem. And they're so silly, they think they can sit in an air-conditioned office and order an employer to pay a worker less than what it is less than their productivity to the company. They can just order an income to be paid no matter what the production is, which causes the business people to have to look for an alternative to the workforce. And so what they're doing by acting like they're trying to help the workers, what they're doing is adding to unemployment. the child that is out there looking for a job based on the skill level that he has, because he might have dropped out of school, doesn't have a job. And the reason why he doesn't have a job, let me listen carefully. He doesn't have a job because the politicians in Washington have made it illegal to give this man a job. That's why those teenagers out there on the street corner right now, that's caused by the politicians. Because if they give him a job at the level of his productive capacity, they're going to put him in jail because he's violating the minimum wage law. They're causing that. And the people in your window, coming through your windows, are coming through there because of these ignoramuses. You're not going to be paying somebody $15 an hour and they have a high school, they didn't finish high school. There's no placement for them in the job market. And so how are they going to get their income? They're going to get their income by taking your television set out of your living room and going off somewhere and selling it. That's why they're coming through those windows. Not all of them. Some have a criminal intent. But a lot of this is driven by the politicians. And you don't see their hands on it because they're able to throw the proverbial stone and take their hands off of it. You know how you're around the corner and you're throwing the stones, you don't see the stone, you turn, and the guy that, you turn around and see the guy in back of you and you think he threw it because he's the only one that you see. That's the way the politicians are. They throw these proverbial stones and get out of the way and you blame somebody else for it. That's what this governor in Michigan is doing right now, trying to index the excise tax on gasoline, trying to put a gasoline tax on, so you blame the petroleum industry for the high price of gasoline, when it really is the fact she wants to tack on some additional taxes on the gasoline, which everybody got to use to have a car, because she doesn't want to take the responsibility for it. That's how these people roll. These are some criminals we have running this country, every last one of them. There's not one politician in this country right now, not one. And that includes the politician that's over the district that I live in, Dan Kildee, who objected to a comment I made before on my Facebook wall, on my post. I'm gonna make it again, because I'm not intimidatable, and I don't have no respect for them. What I think about a politician, I can't say it on the air, because the Facebook is looking for a reason to throw me off. So, but you know what? I have been so good on Facebook. I go right to the edge, and then I pull back because I know what the lines are. See, I didn't know what the lines were when I first got thrown off 2 years ago, but I found what those lines are. So I go right to the brink and then pull back. I'm not going to let Facebook throw me off. Although when I'm typing my posts, they do take over. I don't know. I would like to know if anybody's having this problem, where you're typing on the screen, and all of a sudden you're typing at this speed, and the letters are doing this, and you're typing, and this is the pace on which it's coming up on the screen, because they're taking over the screen and they're typing, and they're not typing. What they're doing is allowing the typing to go through based upon whether they have cleared it first. But I don't use any profane language. I'm just not that kind of a person. But that's not what they're worried about. What they're worried about is what I have in my head. What they're worried about is the ideas that I'm carrying. And they know that I know. And they know that what I know, I'm not afraid to say it, and you cannot intimidate me. That's just the way it is. I guess that's why I only became principal of the school district where I was my last 3 years. Not because I calmed down, but because they had tried everybody else. And when I went in there, my 37th year, I went in there and they were wearing the hats in the building and had their pants sagging down below the thighs, and I knew the first day of school that's going to be cleaned up. In fact, I met with the football team before the school year started. I had all the football players in August to meet with me in the auditorium, and I had a talk with them about how they're going to come and represent the school, because I knew the football team was the first team we put out there in front of our student body. And so that's where I started. They've been the basketball team. It ain't about the team. It's about which one is on first, who's on second. I don't know who's on third, and I'm at home plate. And I called the football team in there, and I talked to them about how they're going to dress as the first team we put in front of our student body, and how they're going to deport themselves if they're going to represent the school. And they're going to set a tone. And they're going to have their pants up, and they're going to have their hats off. Now, maybe it's a football player. One of the football players came in there. The girls played basketball. The girls basketball team played basketball during the boys football season. So the football game for the varsity would be on Friday, and the girls basketball team would be playing on Thursday. So in the game on Thursday, one of the football players came in there with his hat on in the gym. It doesn't matter that school is out and we have a game at night. The rule is you don't wear your hat in the building. No building. The library, the classroom, the gym. This joker comes there wearing his hat. You know, you can go read about this in the Flint Journal. Because when they left the school, they wrote about it and said we could not believe it. I believed it. And so I got in front of this guy. He wasn't a bad kid, but he just wasn't used to having somebody say that this is the rule and it ain't a slide rule. This ain't math class. Ain't no sliding rule in the principal's office. So I got in front of him because he was walking down right by me as if I'm not even sitting there, I guess. I mean, what's that word they always say? Did I say something? I don't have that question. I said something. And I meant what I said. So he come in there wearing his hat. I got in front of him, right in his face. And I said it like this, take your hat off. So you know how they do it. They don't believe you. Because if they resist, then you back down. And I don't believe in backing down. So he took his hat off and put it in back of, you know how they slide the hat off and put it like back here. It's off the head, but you can tell it's going back on there as soon as they get out of your vicinity. So he went down there to the end of the bench, and when he gets set down, he simultaneously put his hat back on. I was watching the whole time because I knew what that meant. That I'm gonna take my hat off for a while, but ain't no in the world I'm gonna stay in control more than 2 minutes. And what I was saying was, is he gonna stay in control until he leaves this building. So he went down there and put his hat back on. I'd already spoken. See, I had spoken as the principal of the high school. What he did was turn a administrative directive into a military question. And I treated it militarily. I went to the secretary that's out in the hallway. She's the secretary of the athletic department. I went out there. I won't call her name out on the air, but I went out and told her to get me 2 police officers in here right now. I went down there. There were about 1,000 students in the gym. I took the police officer down there at the end of where he was sitting, and told him to get up. And they took him out and you can go and check this out, took him out on the police escort. And the reason why I did that, because I went there with the white envelope. You don't pay your bills, they don't send the same envelope. They send a blue envelope. You know why? It's more serious. I was serious the first time, but I'm only going to say it one time. I'm not saying it again. And the second time, I had the people that backed me up to say it, and I'm backed up by the state of Michigan, and I understood that. And I was going to use the power invested in me by the state of Michigan. And that's what they're writing about in the Flint Journal. Okay, we got a break coming up. I'm running my mouth too much. And we're already on a break, and I haven't got to my, I'm going to get to my subject though today. I promise you I'm going to get to this issue of the Chief Justice Supreme Court. Okay, we're gonna allow the ears to calm down of those at WFOV, and they will be so kind to come back after 4 minutes of the break. So thank you for staying with us for the time you've been with us, and we'll see you on the side of the break in 4 minutes. For those that are here with us and continue to be with us at allpointstv.com, we want to thank you for staying with us as well. And we are going to continue what we're talking about here. But I want to just let you know that this is not hard. We have to just understand that if we're going to, see, it's not even hard for the nation. We're either going to be a country that is law abiding, or we're going to be a country of lawbreakers. And the tone for that is set by the people at the top. We have a society out of control, but that only tells me that the society is out of control because the leaders are out of control. Every last one of them. There's not one person watching right now. When you hear them talk about they are trying to uphold the Constitution, I'm gonna tell you this: that's a bunch of that. Don't get me started on that. But don't anybody telling you in Washington right now they're trying to uphold the Constitution. There's not one person in Washington, D.C. right now that's trying to uphold the Constitution. They are the major violators of the Constitution. There's not one member in Congress right now. There are 535 members of Congress. There's not one of them that is in fact upholding the Constitution. And that is a problem. That is the problem in the country. We have lawless lawmakers in this country. And you can either deny it or wake up and deal with it, because you do have something to say about it. But you have to act responsibly yourself. You have a power, and your power is being used against you by these criminals, because all you're doing is letting them sweet talk you. Is letting them sweet talk you into spending your children's money so that they can be empowered back in Washington at your children's expense, because that's the money they're spending. These people talking about free. You know anybody in your do you know anybody in your neighborhood working for free? Free what? There's a song out by, you know, that was that song out. The best things in life are free, but you can give it to the birds and bees. I need some money. The background says, that's what I want, that's what I want. Ain't nothing free. You used to go to the service station and get air. You know, just go out, there's a hose out there. And you go there, pull the hose out, fill your tire up with air. That now is used to be 25 cents. Now it's 75 cents, and they have a time on it. You only gonna get so much air at that price. Then if you got more than one tire, you got to put another 75 cents in there, even the air. And to be honest with you, let's be honest about this. They're trying to find a way to charge you for breathing. because that's what this carbon tax is really about. Because you emit carbon. Carbon is inside your body. And so when you take in oxygen and you let out CO2, that's carbon and oxygen. Okay, thanks, John, for letting me know that coming back from WO4V. And WO4V, you are too bad for me. You always come back, and we always try to stay around because we don't want to be too far away from where we were when you left. And so you do come back, and I definitely appreciate that because it takes us a while to finish our rant here.
Did you hear that where Elizabeth Warren says if she gets elected, she's going to pass legislation that says all new homes and new houses have, or whatever, has to be carbon neutral? So I guess humans can't live in them.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it says, John. You know what? I tell you what you better do, Elizabeth Warren. You won't be president, but I'm just telling you right before you get too full of yourself. You better take up all the guns in this country, because you know what? The last place you can push people is in their house, because if you push them out of the house, they don't have any other habitat to go to. I knew that as a child. I used to run home from school because we had these bullies always, chasing after school was over. I would run home from school, but I would turn around when I got to my front yard, because I knew if I ran out of there, I didn't have any other shelter anywhere else, and I was not going to run out of my own house and out of my own yard. That's why when I got to my yard, I turned around. So I know what Elizabeth Warren is talking about. Let me tell Elizabeth Warren something though. About carbon, because we're dealing with some ignorant people here.
They think they are intelligent. They think they are informed because they parrot something they heard on TV or a bunch of people holding up signs said. They think they're smart. Yeah.
John, if they only, and I tell you what we do. Let's get a tape recorder and a mirror and tape them while they're speaking. Maybe not conscious of the fact that that's them talking, making all these insane comments. These people are, not parroting back their insanity. The same thing with the Speaker of the House yesterday. I don't think this woman was listening to herself. She was on George Stephanopoulos' program, The Weekend Review, on ABC. This woman, Trump calls her Crazy Nancy. It's worse than that. I don't deny that she's not crazy. She is crazy. But on top of that, she's also a babbling idiot. This woman, I didn't know her in her youthful time period. Maybe she was a little straighter in hitting the mark and so on and so forth at that time. But now, given what she was talking about yesterday, and what I hear her saying on the floor of the House, I can tell you right now, there's some problems here. This woman is a babbling idiot, and if that's the best they got, you can imagine what the rest of them are like then. If you see, I can always judge the followers by who they put in front of them. And they put in front of them Nancy Pelosi. Now, can you think of anyone else over there that deserves it more than she does? She doesn't deserve it, but can you think of let's take Maxine Waters. You think Maxine Waters is better qualified than she is? Maxine Waters is more of a dingbat. Let's try AOC. What about AOC? Could she do the job better? Ilhan Omar, the one that was telling us that somebody did something. Look, these people, you've elected these people And these people are either retarded or they're mentally ill. And you elected them to represent you in the Congress. And want the output to be different than what it is. And it can't be different, but it cannot be different because you put garbage in there, you're going to get garbage as an output. It's incredible that these people are representing the country, 535 of them. And they're talking about the Constitution. They're not upholding the Constitution by impeaching Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a threat to the Constitution. The people trying to overturn an election in this country is a threat. And they are a threat not only to the Constitution, they are a threat to the vitality of the country, because the country is based upon elections in this country. The ability to choose your representative, that's the foundation of the United States. Guaranteed in Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. Every state is guaranteed a Republican form of government. Not guaranteed of democracy. I mean, I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands. To the republic to which it stands, not the democracy for which it stands. One nation, under God, indivisible, because of the so-called Civil War, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's the creed of the United States. Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic that the flag represents. We have a republic. And so when you have that entrusted with the people to maintain the republic, that's what Benjamin Franklin was talking about when he said a republic if you can in fact keep it. And why was he saying that? Because he was placing the ball in the court of the people. Not all the people, because not all the people were allowed to participate. Those that had a vested interest in the stability of the nation, because they had property interests in it. And therefore they wanted to secure the nation, because if it was not secure, they would lose in the proposition of the insecurity. Therefore, the vested interests were the ones that were supposed to carry the state. Not everybody. Those that were informed and otherwise were to have the triggers. You can call it elitism if you want to, but you can't have what you have right now, where you excuse half the population from taxation and then put the tax on a small percentage that cannot fight back from the rulers and overtax them because they don't have the numbers to resist, and excuse the others and then expect them to hold you accountable, which is why you don't tax them, because you don't want them to have any objection to what you're doing. So you put the taxation on a small percentage of the population and overtax that percentage of the population and make them pay for everything in the federal government, and then excuse these other people down here, which allow the politicians to get away with murder. That's in your tax structure in the United States. Why is that also true? Because these people are criminals. Every last one of them. And I'm saying this publicly so you will understand what it is you're dealing with, and maybe you can understand that you begin to carry out your constitutional responsibilities a little bit better than you're doing right now. And we can clean this thing up. This is not hard to clean up, but you have to have discipline. And that's why they're writing these articles in that newspaper, because the first thing you have to do is that you have to have order. Nothing takes place for good in chaos. Nature doesn't intend it that way. Nothing productive can come out of chaos. You have to have order. You have to have discipline. And that's why, and by the way, that person that I took out of the gym, I let him speak at his commencement. He's one of my speakers. I didn't have anything against him. Once he cleaned his act up, he was fine. But you're not wearing your hat. But did I hold a grudge? No, I didn't hold a grudge. I wanted the behavior cleaned up. I was talking about the behavior. Once the behavior was cleaned up, I put it in front of the student body, and I put him up there in front of the student body, and I allowed him to speak on the commencement program. I wasn't trying to be his friend. I was trying to be fair. He did something. He did, or somebody did something. He did something, so I did something. You know, that's the way it goes. Look, you said that Donald Trump is a master at it. Donald Trump did something. And then he allowed Iran to do something. And then this is what happened. That's why that's why Iran packed up its marbles and didn't have to do anything further than that, because both of them had something to do in terms of the turf that they were over. And when Donald Trump did what he did, and he should have done what he did, I think I'm gonna be able to do this before I get off the air. I'm gonna do something with something all these politicians are talking about, and these scholars are talking about, which it deals with. I'll put it up on the screen later on when I get through this other piece. But I want to put up there Federalist Paper 69 that they're talking about but don't understand, and I'll come behind them. I want to clean up what they're talking about because they don't have it. I'm sorry, they don't have it. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, let me try to skate into what I want to deal with. Basically, I wanted to talk about. I really need to transition to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court sitting, presiding over the trial of impeachment. But he only presides over the trial of impeachment when the president is the one that is being tried. He doesn't. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court has other responsibilities, and he's too busy. I think I can say they're too busy. I don't know if they're busy enough, quite frankly, but they don't seem to be doing a whole lot up there. None of them seem to be too busy, and we really need to have a part-time everything in the federal government, quite frankly. Everything needs to be part-time, except the presidency and the military. The rest of it can be part-time. You don't need those guys sitting up there. In fact, the Constitution says in Article 1 that Congress shall meet at least once a year. That's a requirement. Ain't no requirement for them to sit there, be up there until they take a vacation. To which every time they take a vacation, I start breathing a sigh of relief, because they can't do it, because it means Hippocrates, do no further harm. They can't do any harm while they're gone. So every time they leave Washington, my shoulders go down, because they are a danger. But let's talk about why it is that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court sits as the presiding officer when the president is the one that is being tried for impeachment. Now, why is that? Let me read Article 1, Section 3, Clause 4. You don't think it's going to be there, right? You don't think it's going to be there in Article 1, Section 3, Clause 4? Yeah, right. Listen to this very carefully, because he's not there to arbitrate anything. He's there as the presiding officer. But why is he there as the presiding officer? Let me read this to you. In Article 1, Section 3, Clause 4, it says this, and this is the only official duty of the Vice President. The Vice President of the United States shall be the President of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they be tied. If it's 50-50, 50 on this side of the issue and 50 on that side of the issue, then the Vice President, who's the President of the Senate, but otherwise he's just sitting there as presiding officer with no vote and no verdict, he can in fact cast a tie-breaking vote. Now, in Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6, listen to this right here very carefully. Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6, it says this. Don't forget what I just said. The Vice President is the President of the Senate. Therefore, he sits over trials in the Senate, except, there's one exception. Listen to this right here. The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside. When the President is being tried, the Chief Justice shall be the presiding officer. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, although these scholars can't figure this out, showing you how dumb they are. You have to be dumb. You cannot be a scholar and be saying what these people are saying. It's irritating to listen to these people. And they're all over the network spreading this noise. You have to deliver the verdict over to the Senate before the impeachment can be official. That's nonsense. The reason why you deliver the impeachment articles over to the Senate is for the trial in the Senate, not because they have to verify the verdict. That's in the House of Representatives. I mean, that's what they're saying. Lawrence Tribe said that. Lawrence Tribe is lying. He better not get on my post. I dare him to get on there. He don't get on there. And I've been calling him out so many times over the course of since I've been back on Facebook. The guy knew I'm out there because I know how the tattletales are. There's a guy on Facebook. He said this, this, and this. You're right. I'm still saying it. And what they're going to say is nothing. They're not going to say anything because they don't know what they're talking about, and I do. They don't understand this document. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is sitting there when the President is being tried. Why is that? Because he's taking the place of the Vice President. Because when the President is being tried, his Vice President has a special interest in the outcome, whether it is to sustain the impeachment or to vacate it. In sustaining it, he is the Vice President of the President of the United States. He was appointed to be the President's Vice President. If the verdict goes against the President and it is a crime to which the President can be removed, although he does not have to be removed because he's been impeached. I'll read that in just a minute in terms of what their misunderstanding about Federalist Paper 69, because they're reading that and they don't understand that either. and that's in Article 4. I'll put it there in a minute, and we'll go through that. We're going to go through the whole thing before it's over, because I have to come behind these people and show them what the document says, because I don't think they're literate. I have to tell you, I don't think these people are literate. I absolutely don't believe that we have literacy among the scholars. They're parrots. And that's why they're telling what the Supreme Court said this, the Supreme, as if these people are literate. Mark Levine called them the men in black. I call them the gang in black. These are gang members. And if they are in fact interpreting the Constitution, then you tell me why it is a 5-4 verdict when the liberals on there, and the 5-4 verdict's a liberal ruling of the court, and when the conservatives on there is a 5-4 ruling in terms of how the conservatives see it. It's the same language. How are they both interpreting the same document so differently based upon the numbers on the Supreme Court? I don't listen to these airheads. The only reason I have to follow it is because they have the guns. We don't have the guns out here. And if you talking about we have the right to bear arms, if you think that you can give these criminals your guns and they're going to in fact clean up their act and act more sanctimonious in the carrying out the law, as bad as they are when society is armed, you can imagine how bad they'll get if you give them your arms, like they did in Australia, and like they've done in England, and like we're not going to do in this country. In fact, people that have done that have told us don't go down that road, because they've gone down that road, and now all they see is tyranny. It's a tyrannical road. That's why the framers put in there the second Amendment. Right behind freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, the freedom to petition the government, and the right to assembly, to peacefully assemble. And behind those 5 freedoms listed in the First Amendment, really is already in the document, but they simply extrapolated out of the document and placed it into a listing of restraints upon government, so the itemization of the restraints could be in fact listed in one place. But they're already restraints placed in the document. So what they did was to in fact do an itemization of it, so people thought that they were doing something different and something new. That's why I keep saying there's no Bill of Rights in the Constitution. All it is a further reiteration of the restraints placed upon government, because that's what the Constitution is. And that's what Jefferson was saying when he said that if men were in fact angels, they would not need government. And if government was made up of angels, it would not need a Constitution. And that's why Walter Williams says at George Mason University, named after this great man that was in the Constitution Convention, didn't sign the document, by the way, although he helped construct the document. If he had signed, I think he would have been given the credit that he deserves as being the real father of the Constitution. James Madison played a primary role, but the real man that's in that body was George Mason, of which George Mason University is named after. And one of the scholars over there, not that he knows what I'm saying here, but I give him a lot of credit for the kinds of things he does know. He's an economist. And he has a good understanding of the basic idiom in economics, and that's understanding supply and demand, which is a very basic principle in economics. That which you charge more for, you demand less of, and that which you demand more of, the price will go up based on demand. So there's a check and balance that's inside the marketplace. We don't need politicians trying to regulate that. We need the check and balance system that's built into the marketplace. It'll regulate itself to a large extent. There are very few laws that you need in the marketplace, because they're not going to put no lead in their water. You know why? And why do you have lead in the water in Flint? Because the Flint has the coercive power to make you drink it. That's only water. That's the only water in your house. Now, if you can afford to bring water in there, do that. But if they were in the marketplace, I can guarantee you that they will get out of that water, because if the market is putting lead in water and the water is undrinkable, then they go out of business, and they have a fiduciary interest, the profit motive is the regulator. And it's the profit that make them get it right. And the competitors are waiting on the sideline to take their share of the market if they get it wrong. I'll tell you this, my son, I have a television set in the family room, and my son wanted to bring me a present for Christmas. I don't like them buying me. I'm not a person that's into presents, but he wanted to do something, nice for me. So he, without my knowing, came in there bringing this flat screen television set. Now, the TV set that I have in the family room has been in there for at least 25 years. We're running out of time. And anyway, okay, he put another TV set in there. Now, that TV set he put in there is a flat screen. It's only going to last 2 or 3 years. You know why? Because it's programmatic obsolescence. That flat screen takes the place of the one on the floor model, which has the long tube. What they did is that the TV set didn't wear out, the one that they replaced there. What they did there is they wore it out of your mind by changing the design of it. Because if it wears out, and I've had that thing in there since I moved in that house I'm in right now, and I moved in that house in 1991. There's nothing wrong with that TV set. And I didn't really want to replace it, but I didn't want to say no to him because it being so nice in terms of what he did. Just came in there and started taking down the plug and putting all the plugs in his place. Okay, I got to get out of here. We'll get to the other part next week, and I'll talk about Federalist Paper 69 next week. We got through, finally, the part about the Chief Justice sitting in the place of the trial of the President because of the specific interests of the Vice President. He cannot sit there because of his specific interests. Okay, that's enough for today. We'll talk about the rest of it next week. Until next week, I want you to follow your dream. If you don't follow your dream, you'll never know what's on the other side of the rainbow.